Arriaga, and I want to continue my lesson on goal achievement. And today I want to talk a little bit about how fear is getting in the way and how to give you a couple tips on how to overcome fear so you can do the thing that you want to do. So you remember my slide regarding where you are. The blue dot over here on the left is your current self-image. It has served you, it has helped you to get to the certain level or the current level that you are on right now. But there's a part of you that says, I want more, I want to be more, I want to have more, I want to do more. And this current version of you does not exist, does not reside, and will not get you to where you want to be. So you have to change. Now, when I say change, we're not changing who you are into a different person. We're removing all the junk that's been put on you, all the lies, all the doubt, all the false beliefs that have been pushed on you by society, by your family, by your friends, and by people who even care about you, and they've gotten in the way. This is why you think you can't, why it won't happen for you, why it might happen for somebody else, but it won't happen for you. And so when the red star over here represents your North Star, this is where I want to be. And I talked about this before, that you have to live there. You have to become the person that you think is that person in order for you to change and your results to change. So if you want things to change on the outside, you're going to have to change on the inside. It doesn't work the other way around. And that's why you see a lot of people putting a lot of energy, a lot of effort into trying to change what's on the outside. And you might get some short-term results, but you will not get permanent, long-lasting results by that approach. So think about, again, the North Star is, what is it that I want? How does that person talk, walk, behave? And I wrote over here, this is your new level of awareness. So you're thinking about, what does that person, how do they live? How do they breathe? What does their kitchen look like? What are in their sock drawers, what's in their cupboard in the kitchen in terms of how do they eat. And you want to start developing that awareness, develop a new identity around that person, and you're becoming 1% better every day in a way that aligns with that new personality, that new character. And it's basically a new self-image and a new paradigm. Using auto-suggestion works, activating your reticular activating system. So you're looking and finding and searching for the things that are aligned with that. You're developing an action plan, and the action plan has to include that every day you're doing at least between 3 and 6 things. Could be small. That's why I said 1% better, but doing at least 3 to 6 things every day that's intentionally aligned with that person. So I hope that makes sense. The next slide, we talked about it again. It's like from the movie, The Matrix, blue pill, red pill. The blue pill is you conceding you're not going to change, it's not going to work for you, and you're just going to live the life that you currently live. And that really is one that is not empowering versus the one on the right, the red pill, and you're going to be intentional, you're going to be deliberate, and you're going to go after what you want. And you're going to go after what you want because this is what you deserve. This is what you can have. You're not going to have a desire that you cannot achieve. You're not going to have a desire that you cannot fulfill. You may not know how to do it, but that's going to come over time. So this is the slide that I really want to focus on today, which is about, a lot of this comes from Bob Proctor when he talks about the terror barrier. So on the top it says, breaking the cycle of fear, failure, and the status quo. So you see my little pills over here, the red pill and the blue pill. We want to take the red pill versus the blue pill. On the bottom left over here, you see bondage. Now, bondage doesn't necessarily mean that you're suffering. Bondage, most of the time, means that you're comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you're not going to be intentional about growing or going after the thing that you want, the thing that you're capable of having, because you're comfortable. It might be that you're working at a job where they're giving you the golden handcuffs, and you know you're meant for more. You know that your purpose, your passion, is meant for something greater, but you're too comfortable, you're too afraid to move, so you stay where you are. So I call that your X vibration, X thinking, and you plant the seed in your subconscious mind. So X thoughts, X habits, X self-image, X paradigm, and then you take actions that are aligned with that X type of thinking, so your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, and you get the same results. So the life that you're living today, the blue dot in the first slide, or the blue pill means the status quo. Nothing's changing. But either the universe or somebody tosses an idea or there's something part of you that's yearning for more and says, imagine that you can convert your yearly income into a monthly income. Imagine that you can get that job, that career. Imagine that you can finally open that business. You can be the solopreneur that you've always wanted to be. So you have that thought. It's just an idea. And there's a quote by Andrew Carnegie that says, any idea that is basically maintained in your mind and that is emphasized and that's either feared or revered will begin to clothe itself immediately in whatever form that's appropriate and convenient. So if you're having an idea and you're holding on to that idea and you're emphasizing it by focusing on it, you're emphasizing by concentrating on it, you're emphasizing it by thinking that this is possible for me, it's going to change from just a thought into an actual achievement of a goal, an actual manifestation of a physical thing. And it starts immediately. It doesn't necessarily appear immediately. It's like planting a seed. It doesn't show up immediately, but it starts to happen. It starts to grow. It starts to develop. So in this picture in the middle over here, you take this red idea, the new idea. I can double my income, triple my income. I can be, do, have, whatever it is that I have. But this is not alignment with your self-image. This is the X vibration. This is who I see myself with. So what normally happens is it might happen for Johnny, it might happen for Jane, it might happen for someone else, but it's not going to happen for me because I don't have the right education, I don't have the right background, I don't live in the right zip code, I'm not the right height, I'm not the right shape. Whatever it is that you've been telling yourself, which is not serving yourself to the best of your abilities, then you reject that thought. You take the red pill, you toss it out, you take the blue pill again, and you continue to have the same result. But imagine this. Imagine this picture over here in the middle where you have this idea, and now again, you're holding on to it. You're emphasizing the thought. You're concentrating. You're focusing on this thing, and you're leaning into it. You're saying, well, what if it is possible? Then all of a sudden, that why idea makes its way into your subconscious mind, meaning that you are accepting that it's possible. You don't know how, you're just accepting the fact that this is possible for me. Your body is going to look at this as almost like an infection. This isn't foreign to me, it doesn't belong here, and it's just going to be uncomfortable. This discomfort is a good thing. This discomfort about uncertainty, I don't know how it's going to do it, your subconscious mind wants to reject it, but you're not going to reject it. Remember, you're leaning into it, and then suddenly you feel out of place. You feel this is not familiar with me, but you want to hold on to that thought. Back to that previous slide number 1, you want to stay at that frequency, that new level of awareness, and then all of a sudden, back to these serendipities and synchronicities, opportunities are going to show up. Now, what else is going to show up? Because it's not just green lights and blue skies. It's not all perfect. The other thing that's going to show up is logic, facts, and anything that your subconscious mind can throw at you to say, you remember that time when you had a similar idea and you failed? It's going to try to create fear. It's going to create a lot of doubt, judgment, self-judgment, make you feel like you're a victim and that you can't do it, that you're not worthy. It's going to emphasize that area of uncertainty. This is not good. This is not safe. It's going to remind you that if you make a mistake, you will be embarrassed. Your friends are going to laugh at you. And it might remind you that it's too late. You could have done that maybe 20 years ago, but you can't do it now. Or that imposter syndrome voice is the volume is going to crank all the way up to do whatever it can. Now, part of this is meant and designed to keep you safe, to help you. But most of it is not. It's not helping you. So you have to overcome that, realize that that's what's happening. These emotions that I'm feeling is simply because it's foreign to me. It's not familiar. I'm not certain how I'm going to do it. But you have to be willing to crash through this terror barrier, get to the other side, and when you're on the other side of that wall, on the other side of that resistance, you've taken the red pill and you've made a monumental quantum leap in the direction that you want. Now, The next slide over here. Now this slide over here is the plateau of latent potential. The blue dot represents what we think should happen. Whenever we set a goal, whenever we're working on a goal, we tend to become impatient. We think, for example, that just because I went to the gym 5 days in a row, I should start having my biceps and my triceps more defined. We think that just because we had a salad 3 days in a row, that I should start losing weight and notice that my belt buckle or I've gone down is tighter. I can, go down 1 inch, or wear a shirt that is smaller in size. And that's really not what happens, nor the way it typically happens. So even though our mental expectation is that, it's linear progress, what really happens is that, number one, growth is good, but we need productivity and progress, not activity. The mistake that we all make is just because I'm doing an activity doesn't mean, number one, that it's the right activity, and doesn't mean that I show results immediately. So we need to be more concerned with our trajectory, with how we are advancing versus the success, the outcome. I don't see the outcome. I can't control the outcome, but I can control the output. So this graph over here shows it's like, yes, the blue dot is what I want. I've gone to the gym X number of days. I expect to see results. I expect measurable results, but that's not the way it happens. What really happens is you're going to go through this valley of disappointment. From a Bible perspective, the valley of the shadow of death is what you're experiencing. You're doing the work, but you're not seeing any progress. You're starting to become impatient, and you're going to say to yourself, if you're not careful, I knew it, it doesn't work, I've tried it in the past, and once again, I failed. Or even worse, once again, I'm a failure. That's not what's happening. So think about when you were a child and you did that experiment in class where you took the seed, you put it into a plastic cup inside of the soil, and you put it by the windowsill. You'd go look at it that the next day, nothing. The next day after that, nothing. 3 days later, nothing. 4 days later, nothing. Eventually you say, it doesn't work. Mine isn't growing. Then about 7 days or 14 days later, you hear somebody else say, look at my seed, it's growing. You go look at yours and nothing's happening yet. So you're more frustrated. But it doesn't mean that there's not something going on beneath the surface. And the same thing with your mental seeds. Whenever you have that idea, you want to hold on to that idea. You want to believe that it's going to happen. Just because I don't see any evidence of it on the outside does not mean that there's not evidence of it happening on the inside. So I have to hold my image and I have to believe that these are universal laws and it does work, it will work. And so eventually what happens is the mistake over here is this blue dot is where people think that I'll go read one more article. I'll go speak to one more person. And that's activity, not productivity. They're not changing. Yes, they might have more intellectual knowledge. They might have one more article they've digested, but that's not changing. What they're doing instead, and that's what I call the productive procrastination, is you're doing something that feels productive, but you're procrastinating for the actual thing that you need to do. Maybe you need to call someone. Maybe you need to actually get in front of a customer and ask for the sale. Maybe you need to ask for that promotion. Maybe you need to ask for that raise. The thing that you really need to do is the thing that you're trying to avoid, and that's why you're not getting the results. So number one, do not quit on your dreams. Do not think that it doesn't work, but maybe the approach, maybe the methodology that you're taking right now needs to be modified, needs to be changed, or even needs to be enhanced. So over time, what you see is this is where you started. It's underneath the surface. You're not seeing any change. And then you're making progress. You're doing things that are bold, things that are different, things that make you uncomfortable. Remember that first image that I talked about where you're living at that frequency, You're not bouncing back and forth. You want to avoid that. Every time you're thinking about that future you, that new job, that new desire, that new business, whatever it is, you're living at that frequency and you're thinking, how does that person walk? How does that person talk? What do they do? What are their behaviors? What do they eat? What do they read? What are 3 to 6 things that they do every single day that moves them in that direction? And again, this is where you have to hold your image and believe that this is a lawful process and it does work, even if the outside is not showing me evidence that it's working. So then eventually you make more and more progress, and then guess what happens? You get this explosion of results. And so it's not just time. Sometimes it's repetition. Maybe you have to keep doing these activities over and over, but time does play a role. But you have to do an activity. You have to do the repetitions of the thing that's building your new self-image, building your confidence, moving you in that direction, and you get the compound effect. You get this explosion of results. Now, when this happens, you know what people say about you? Do you want to know what they call you? They call you lucky. They call you privileged. They say that you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. They say that you were born on third base and that's why you got the results that you want. And that's ignorance talking. The reality is that you are an overnight success, except it took you 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. We don't know how long. Depending on how big your dream is, it may take longer. But the takeaway, the main thing that I want you to take away is it doesn't matter how long. I always remind people that I'm working with that how long it takes is none of our business. What is our business, which is a lot of work, a lot of energy, causes a lot of fatigue, is to mentally hold that image, mentally believe that it can happen, but I have to every day stay at that frequency, every day do between 3 and 6 things, even if they're really small, that are moving me in that direction. Every day realize that when I make a mistake and when I have a failure, that's just the universe giving me negative feedback that I'm taking the wrong direction, wrong route. Not that the dream, not that the goal is wrong, but that the action that I just took is wrong and is just giving you feedback. You don't associate yourself with your failure and think that you're a failure. You don't associate that when you make a mistake that you're a mistake. You simply made a mistake in your calculation. You experience a failure, and your failures are all temporary if you do not quit on your dreams. So I hope this is helpful. I hope you can go back and watch the videos. Again, just create that visual picture that when I'm feeling fear, that's normal. When I'm feeling that imposter syndrome, that's resistance. When I'm comfortable, I'm not growing. And comfortable and comfort might be forms of bondage and they're not serving you. You're not broken. Your systems are broken. And if you want to be, to do, to have whatever it is that you have, if you have that desire, you have that dream, then you're capable of achieving it. But you're going to have to make some sacrifices, some changes. It's going to be hard work. But look at your life right now. You're already doing hard work, but the hard work is not giving you the results that you want. This is a different kind of hard work. This is not hard work that's going to kill you, but this is hard work that requires you to use your 6 intellectual faculties of perception, reasoning, imagination, your memory, your intuition, and your will to focus on what you want. So again, this is Rich Arriaga. I hope this has been helpful. If you want to spend some time with me and schedule a 30-minute free consultation, here's my website. Have a great day.